Hey everybody, my name is Ed. I'm here with Prepared Mindset and Pastor Neil as well, and we're going to be talking to you about communications. Basically, communications that you can use during power outages, when the grid goes down,
Hurricanes.
and basically just like the last couple of days, Verizon had issues, and earlier this year, AT&T had issues. Basically, another form of communication that you can touch them with loved ones, first responders, and your community.
Well, I want to say the Verizon going down yesterday to me was sus. And if you remember a few months ago, are you AT&T or Verizon?
Verizon.
Yeah, if you remember, AT&T went down a few months ago. Now, I believe it's like down meter. There's a site where people like track everything.
Yeah.
But that's just people that go and track it. When I saw it, it was over 100,000 people that said Verizon was down. AT&T was the same point. All the news were just covering those who actually said they reported their outage. I'm thinking that this is in the millions, because, I saw not only locally in the Dayton, Ohio area, but, all over the country. But I find it sus that you have AT&T go down and the Verizon go down a few months later, when I don't recall these widespread outages. So, the hurricane, you've got World War, you've got communications is at the heartbeat of where we're at. So
Yeah, basically.
Thanks for having me on the show today, man.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I thought it was cool. Ed and I were talking. Ed is the professional here, and I know you're going to unpack a lot of things, but one of the visions that we had for Prepared Mindset was to ensure that we begin talking about preparedness from a biblical worldview. And I listen and subscribe to a lot of channels. They're great. That they get a lot of their points across, but it's obviously birthed from doom and gloom. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And there's no hope. There's no peace. Really, they put their hope in their supplies or in their preparedness. And I believe the vision that Ed and I had from not just, we're meeting in a church right now, is how do we prepare the body spiritually from a soul perspective, their emotions, and their physical preparedness. And so it's spirit, soul, body in that order versus most preparedness that are not Christian-based. It's body, soul, spirit, if they even believe that. And so that's why I appreciate you, Ed, for bringing me on the show today, because our heart when we discuss communications and comms is what do we do as a church community and family if, let's say, not only the lights go off, but communication goes off. How do we continue to communicate? So I'm going to turn it over to you. I don't know where you want to jump in, and we'll take it from there, brother.
Well, first of all, the biggest thing is you're going to have to start understanding warning signs.
Mm-hmm.
Weather, news. There's so much you can look out there and see what's going on in the world that, that communication is going down and there's a lot of threat going on. And there's, terrorist threats in the United States as well.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what's going to happen? First off is, grid's going to go down. And then after the grid, cell towers are going to go down because most cell towers actually have a backup generator
mm-hmm.
built into the base of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at most of those cell towers, it's about 50-50 that there actually is a generator in there.
Is it diesel? What's it? The fuel source?
They're usually some of them are electrical generators and some are diesel generators.
Okay.
But I've never seen anybody really keep up with them.
Okay.
Look at Asheville right now. Their cell towers are taken out. Natural disaster hits and you're going to have people clogging up the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And not going to be able to get through. Cell tower goes down. They lose all signal. They really don't have a way of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's where you got to start thinking about what you want to prep for disaster-wise, or do you want to prep for, say, civil unrest, or just end of the world. It all depends on what you're trying to prep for. Is basically what kind of communication is that you want and what you get.
And for me, as a father, as a husband, as a pastor, I think I want to touch on all of that. Like what does someone someone who's married, someone who loves their family, and I represent you and everybody else from these general remarks, but then also from a church family, I think we can be very singular, and that comes first, of course. But we have people here in our church that they don't have as much as a real family, but their church family is their family.
Yeah.
And so I think when we begin to really take a serious look at this, like how do we have some communications with the people we love the most, and what's it going to cost, and how do we do it? And then hopefully you could cover some of that today.
Yeah, I mean, basic communication. I mean, there's certain ways, like you got your regular walkie-talkies, FMR, basically family radios, FRSs.
Okay.
I mean, that's your store-bought big.
These are like two-way radios.
Two-way radios.
Okay.
We use here at the church for security and all that. Those are great, but you also got to realize they are preset stations, and if somebody goes into the store and buys another set of those radios, they could hear exactly what you're saying. They can sit there.
So no security, but there could be 1,000 people on the line.
Yeah.
And what's the range for something like that?
It all depends on. Most of the time, it depends. Power-wise, antenna-wise. For regular walkie-talkies, some of them say you could reach up to 5 miles.
You think those are right? Maybe over water.
Maybe over water, and maybe in a desert where it's flat.
So if you're in a desert or if you live on the water, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, walkie-talkies aren't a bad within family communications if you're in a close distance.
So like going out back to the woods, maybe to hunt for rabbits.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be bad. You still have kind of mixed communication with the trees and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have, degradation in signal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good starting point for anybody who's trying to get into communications for afterwards. Just know that between the frequencies and the type of radio, you may not be able to talk to other people with different types of radios as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, walkie-talkie is a great start to start out with.
So at the minimum, do you feel it's a good investment for a household to have two-way radios if they're entry level, or would you say you should automatically maybe go to the next level?
I would say go to the next level now, because the next level would be GMRS, is like what I have.
Okay.
And basically GMRS radios, like I said before, you go onto FCC website,
Okay.
$35, 10 years, your whole family can use that.
So you do have to register.
You have to register for that unless it's in a time of disaster.
Okay, so if the crap hits the fan, you just go hog wild.
Oh yeah, all bets are off on all communications. I'm hopping on a ham radio, GMRS. I'm reaching somebody.
If the crap hits the fan, I don't think they're gonna like police the stations.
No.
Yeah, everyone's looking for water and killing each other.
Yeah.
I mean, just being real. I mean, at some point, like things are gonna get a little crazy.
Yeah, believe it or not, there are some ham radio people who take it really seriously. They have their groups and all that stuff. And some of them actually go out and do what's called fox hunting.
Huh?
They'll go out there with basically like a signal indicator, and they'll try to track down people who are not licensed.
Dude, those guys have way too much time on their hands.
They do. I was like, shouldn't you be outside mowing your lawn or something?
Something. Well, where I live, well, you know where I live. I mean, they have that ham radio, huge towers. Like I could visually see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but so ham radio is the next step after GMRS, right?
Yeah, ham radio is basically the top of the line. I mean, there's different levels. There's like operator, technician, and there's one step above. Basically, well, you're in the military, so it'll be like GMRS is more like UHF.
Okay.
And then you go into ham, which is VHF,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go to top tier, which is UHF. And
Okay.
that's when you able to start talking worldwide.
I gotcha.
Worldwide.
Connect to the space station and talk to all those guys if you're lucky.
Hear what's going on in China, you
Right.
know.
So, but let me ask you this, and we'll probably just go all over the place. But if the crap hits the fan, because I think really that's what anybody that's going to tune into this, including our congregation, we set out to have this show, number one, to inform our congregation for those that might be interested, again, from a biblical Christian perspective. But if the crap hits the fan, aren't even ham radios, if there's power outages, what type of impact does that have on a ham radio? So like let's say from base station, if I have a handheld ham radio to another handheld radio, obviously you're just limited because of power.
Yeah, you're limited to power. I mean, just like any base station, you're going to have an external power supply, certain wattage, like GMRS is. Basically, it's like a desktop power supply. They use them in labs too.
I gotcha. So they'll probably have some type of power backup, solar, whatever.
Yeah,
it may be.
they'll have a generator, solar. A lot of people actually put most of their backup power for the radios for when something happens.
Well, I want to draw a picture here and then let you, and guys, we're going to put this on our website with a lot more information. So if I throw Ed off course, so be it. And church starts in about 45 minutes to an hour. So that's our time frame.
Yeah.
But I want to draw a picture. Okay. So let's pretend, let's say it's nature related. Let's say it is an attack, foreign or domestic, something. But the power goes out. And just like right now, I looked at the outage map. So what was it, 5-6 days ago, the hurricane came through?
Yeah.
We're all the way up in Ohio. And we had almost like it was 100,000 customers out of power. Yep. And that was like with 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Yep.
And it's taken a week to restore electricity. Now, there's still thousands of people without power, and most of them are like 1 to 50 houses.
Yeah.
Point is, though, let's pretend the whole city's out and the county's out, and there's no time frame, right? The picture that I've given Ed and where I want to drill down into is two things. Number one, our loved ones, do we have a plan to talk to each other? The phone doesn't work, right? And then I'm like, I now could say, hey, my wife, my family, if the phones go out, if the power goes out and I'm gone, here's the plan, right? They'll say, go to this, right? And these are the frequencies. So that's plan one. Then to widen out that plan, I want to say now, Ed, physically, Ed lives a few miles from me, right? Our church is about 25, 20, 30 miles from here. But now I want to have a plan that says, hey, my family knows what we're going to do next. Then my friend group knows what we're going to do. Now me and Ed can talk to each other. And now widen that out one more wide. It's now my church family knows how to communicate. Now, obviously, there's a lot of distance and battery. So that's the picture I want to pose to you is A, my family, B, my friend group, and more family connected,
Yeah.
and then ultimately our church family. So walk me through what that looks like.
Okay. Well, first realize, walkie-talkies during that time are not going to do too much good because anybody within a block or something, they have the same walkie-talkie. You're just going to be talking in the neighborhood.
Okay. So I mean, it should be tons of chatter then.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if everybody all of a sudden's on a walkie-talkie, that's going to be a hot mess.
Yeah. Yeah. So a good thing would be, budget-wise, would be GMRS radios.
Okay. How much are we talking about roughly?
Roughly, you can get handhelds at 5 watts, they're basically the budget GMRS, the Baofangs. I have some. You can get a pair for roughly around $50 on Amazon.
All right.
So they do make a 8-watt version, which is a little bit better.
Okay.
Bigger battery, longer talk time.
Okay.
I mean, that's around $70. So for a pair, $70.
So for a pair.
Yeah, for a
So
pair.
I mean, we're talking about under $100.
Yeah, for under $100.
Double A batteries.
No, they actually have a built-in battery, and you can recharge them. The lower, the $50 ones, they have the old style battery, so you actually have to have a docking station for it.
So pros and cons, though, if the power goes out, right? Would it be maybe better to have double A's, that you could just have a bunch of double A's, or what's your thoughts on that?
Not necessarily, because at this point, I mean, you could buy a whole bunch of double A's, then you got to store them, then you got to make sure they're still good. Then
What about a little solar charging station of some sort?
Yep, that's the next thing I have, and our bug out bags and our get home bags, and then even just in our camping bins in the garage, I have little solar battery packs.
Yeah, I've seen just even like those little blocks.
Yep.
Lithium blocks put out in the sun.
Yep.
Do they work?
They work. They're more of a trickle charge than
Okay.
they are supercharged. So I mean, you plug your phone in, it's going to take a good 8-10 hours for it to charge up.
Okay.
But I mean, you get one of those, and if you get the newer batteries, say like the 8-watt GMRSs, they actually come with a USB-C where you can directly charge into the battery.
Really?
So you don't need a docking station. I have those on order. So, I mean, it's going to extend the life of it. And then The other thing you got to realize is antennas on. Stock antennas for a certain distance, they'll work great.
Okay.
But usually you want to go with like an aftermarket. Like I used Yagi antennas.
So do they actually pop off?
They screw off.
Okay, they screw off.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, but they're a little different. So I mean they're I think it was like I think it's called like a 259. I think it's like a SM male.
Okay.
It's basically like the connectors that we use when we put the antenna on this house.
I got you. Like the BNC, like the micro BNCs of some sort.
The small
Okay.
ones that are very delicate and all
I
that.
got you.
Yeah.
I
So
got you.
you have to be careful because some radios will have the female plug and some radios will have a male plug. So you have to buy radio specific ones as well.
I got you.
So longer antenna, longer reach, because most radios come with the small rubber ducky antennas.
Okay.
You're not going to get very far, especially if you're in an urban environment. So you want a longer antenna. But longer antenna also means it's a little bit more fragile.
So, like, if you're at $100 for a pair, what's an antenna cost? Like, that's something that, again, consumer level, but it's going to double the distance or some sort.
Yeah, it's going to double the distance. I mean, clear day, wherever you point it, I mean, you could reach anywhere from 5 to 10 miles with the handheld.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working in downtown, I was just playing with it and I stuck the antenna out, and I heard two people were having a conversation out on 235,
Wow.
and I was like, that's pretty good distance.
Was that maybe 10 miles?
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
A little more.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So I was hearing them talk, and I've even sat here in the church parking lot before, and I've heard people down at 70, 75, and I heard people down on 675 as well.
Okay.
So, because there's people always talking on certain channels, just talking around.
So if for maybe a household, again, things are so expensive. I mean, groceries, rate. I mean, people don't have a lot of extra money.
Yeah.
If you're a real prepper, you're probably not even watching this because you probably already have a plan, right? So, I mean, we're reaching down to like the lowest common denominator. Nothing against that, meaning like people like me that's like, hey, I'm concerned about this, but, I don't have thousands of dollars to invest, but I want to have some level of preparedness. Yeah. So you're saying, and we'll put this in the post, but you're saying, hey, a pair of radios, $100, a pair of antennas, another
$20.
Another $20.
Yeah.
Obviously, a trickle charger, licensing
is $35.
So is it possible? Again, this is just rough. Is it possible to say at least 2 radios, antennas, registration, a trickle charger for $200? You'll have some peace of mind. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So $200. I mean, if you think about it, we spend $200 on all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, if and when the crap hits the fan, that will have at least some level of peace of mind that even, hey, if your husband goes out to look for water or, goes out to look for something, that you have some way to communicate with them.
Yeah. No, there's another company that just actually came out that's, I want to call it like dual band, but it's actually a handheld. It's a GMRS and ham radio.
Really?
Yeah, so you can switch in between.
So if the crap hits the fan, you go over to ham and just start getting all the fox hunters or whatever they're called just ticked off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you authorized to talk on this radio?
Have you been on ham radio?
Never
before?
been on a ham radio.
Oh, yeah. You could actually get online, I think, and you could actually hear some stations. And
Like, what do they talk about?
Some of those guys just pour out their life stories.
They're just talking like a bunch of old women.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry if you're an old lady.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are like, "Can you just stop talking so I can talk to you, or is you just keep on talking?"
It's like a party line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
pretty much.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's the 1990s party line.
That is so funny.
But yeah, I mean, GMRS is the most budget that you can go in between them all. I mean, ham being the most expensive because it's going to be a little bit more for your test and for the gear that you need. Because when you go into, GMRS, you can get a base station, which is good for your house.
Okay.
But also the good thing about a base station is the power supply is a cigarette lighter. So you could actually put it in your car as well. It has its own antenna, magnetized that you can slap on your roof as well, and you can be mobile.
I don't think the new cars have cigarette lighters. Do they?
Some do.
Some of them do?
Some of them still
Kids
do.
are like, what's that thing for?
Yeah. They don't have the actual lighter, but they have the actual outlet.
So, quick side note. Did you ever stick the cigarette lighter in and then burn your finger?
I've done that. I've stuck a key in there before. That was a horrible decision.
I just know how old you are now. If you're old enough to know, you stick that in and then like and smell the burnt flesh, you know that you're a 80s 90s kid. Okay, so I want to draw another picture, right? Because I'm just trying to talk to the real world people. We'll put the rest of the stuff on the post. So as a pastor, you know this, but I'm gonna draw the picture. So right now, where this podcast studio is, it's in an upper story of our church, where we've talked about, and we need to make some motions now, a movement, where we want to put a base station, we want to put up an outside antenna, right, on the bell tower here, and then we want for our church to have a published, whether it's paper or whether it's a link on our website, just for our church members, that says for our GMRS radio, and no, those have frequencies, right? You could plug in the frequencies?
Yeah, they have 22 frequencies for GMRS.
Okay, so we want to say to contact the base station at the church, right? And the way I see it, when and if the crap hits the fan, our church is going to be a house of refuge. I mean, we'll have people that are staying here and living here to some level, and there will be, we want and desire, we haven't implemented this yet, but we're working towards it, where there's somebody that can communicate with the people that we said, hey, this is how you reach us. And so our base station theoretically should have a farther reach, and then handhelds that maybe 10, 20 miles away, 30 miles away maybe, could still reach out. Now, what that would do is it lets to have some type of command and control. So first, we're out in the country, we could say what's going on in Inglewood, what's going on in, the southern part of Dayton, the northern part of Dayton, where we have other people in church family that at least we can communicate with, that we know, we love. Mm-hmm. And that could be for the gospel. That could be obviously, just navigating whatever disaster there may be, but not relying on government command and control, where all of a sudden that you've got FEMA that's trying to escort you to their FEMA camps, where we can actually have a larger view of saying, what's God saying in this? And so, hey, we believe in prayer. We got a direct line to God, but he's also put us together and not to be ignorant of the day that we live. So that's kind of my goal. That's what got Ed and I started with this kind of podcast for at least this episode. So walk me through how that would work from a very practical standpoint.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would always say, with everything you're a military man, OPSEC, you got to be very careful about giving out the local address. You never know who's going to be
Explain for those that don't know what OPSEC is.
It's operational security. Basically, it's trying to keep everything that we're doing on the down low, but still get it out there to enough people to help them. So, you could broadcast day and night on your radio, and somebody's going to pick up on your frequency. They're either going to track you down, or you're going to give the address, and you're going to draw unwanted people. So you got to be very careful.
Not everybody listening is a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be people that are, there's going to be genuine good people that are going to come, need help out. But there's also going to be other people that have ulterior motives that are going to show up. And that's where it gets kind of hard, because, like, as a Christian, you want to help everybody. You want to see everybody do good. But at the same time, you have to be very, very careful.
That's a good point. And what Ed said, we as a church, we're going to have our doors open, but not to everybody. And what we mean is, for those that, everyone has a home, many of you, your doors are open to your loved ones, your friends, your family, but you're not letting strangers in. And what we mean is not for the gospel and support, meaning that there is ulterior motives. There's a point where, think about this. We live in such a great country, as messed up as it is, that we go to bed and the vast majority of us do not fear that somebody's kicking in our door.
Yeah.
And when things change, and the biggest thing is the fear of the unknown. And when all of a sudden you don't know that the stability that we know today, and you fear that's who's out there, all of a sudden the world changes really fast, and not everybody is a good guy. Not everybody's for you. And so that's the balance is Lord, give us the wisdom to know how do we help when we can, but also how do we make sure we keep a distance of someone that has ulterior motives.
Yeah. Yeah. That all comes into, planning as a church, and if you start like a community prepping and all that stuff, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you guys talk about. I mean, that security, you know, who's in charge, who's not in charge. I mean, it turns into a whole big
Command
session.
structure.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, because, you know, you bring up some, and maybe it's another show, but, you know, if you begin to look, most of us we live in communities as it relates to a city,
Yeah.
but we don't operate like a community, right? I mean, do you rely on any of your neighbors?
No.
Right. And I don't rely on my neighbors. And so we live in communities, but we don't operate as a community. I would say the closest thing that we operate as community is churches, right? Of like emotional, spiritual, physical well-being. That's the way God designed it. But we're going to see there could be and probably will be a day where we have to return to that. Yeah. It's like, hey, Ed's really good at, you know, what are you really good at?
I don't know.
He's really good at a lot of things, and we just have to rely on each other for the good things that we're good at. And, you know, if the crap hits the fan, I don't know. We're going to have to learn how to hunt rabbit or something.
That's why we got Mike and Dirk for.
Mike and Dirk and Brad that can hunt rabbit. Anyway, I digress. So
Okay.
back to that picture I drew of the church and the tower and the frequencies. Again, how does that, you know, even if you're watching and you're like, man, we need to do something like that. From a high level, how does that get implemented? So like start with a church, a business, an organization that has a desire. They have a group of people and they're thinking, man, I want to empower our group, our church, our organization. Maybe you have a large family.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you have a large family, you could do this at the family level. It says, hey, Grandpa, you have the base station. Here's the frequencies. Here's the battery backup. And then all of our sons and daughters, here's your own handheld radios. If the crap hits the fan at these times, day one, call in and let's establish some command and control.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good point. Family prepping. That'll be a whole nother
another video.
Yeah, a whole nother video on that one too.
I mean, do you feel that it's fair though to say that all prepping your immediate family within your own household, then depending on your life circumstances, though, and if you have loved ones in the local area, it should trickle out to that next.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, you get started as a self-prepper and then eventually go to your family, get them involved. Because you got to realize a lot of people with kids, I mean, nowadays, how many kids actually know how to fish, hunt? I mean, do they know how to build a shelter, fire, and all that stuff? None of them know. I mean, if you got it really bad and you actually had to leave this place,
like a bug out,
yeah,
like get out of the city.
Yeah, if you had to bug out for good and to go somewhere else, how many people would actually be able to do it because they don't know how to properly pack a bag, use a weapon, forage for food, or what food to forage food and what not to eat, which water source and all that stuff. Not a lot of people know that. I mean, it's gonna be. They're going to have some issues, and say your parents fall ill and you're a kid and you never learned any of this stuff, then you're kind of left to fend for yourself. And I mean, I hate to say this, it's not going to end too well.
I'm not laughing. I kind of read you said in your.
So like,
yeah, I got you. Yeah. You may have missed it, but it's all right. Yeah. So. I mean, let's put off that aside for a moment because you're right. That goes down. And again, I know there's so many episodes that are out there. Yeah. And I want to just say this probably for the 100th time. We have, as Christians, if you're a believer, you have to put your trust in God. At the same token, he wants us to actually act on the wisdom that he gives us, right? And, you know, of everything from going out, as you said, hunting and gathering and, you know, the things that you have to prepare for now that we have plenty. I mean, you know, Joseph, there was a 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. So there was a time of plenty. Even as high priced as everything is, think about this. Most of us still have disposable income, right? Grab a coffee, grab a food, grab things that we don't need. And so there is something available to at least begin to make that way. You're never going to just have all this ready in a night, but I think communications is where it starts.
Yeah. I mean, it's one piece of the puzzle for prepping itself and just being, you know, ready for any kind of disaster that happens.
Sure.
I mean, I don't want to get off topic, but I mean the main thing that you need for prepping is your mentality.
So your mindset.
Your mindset is the number one thing that will get you through it all. How you handle stress, how you handle fear.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, if you get under pressure and all that stuff, I mean, it comes down to even
That's a great point.
even to your thinking about like your morals and all that stuff. It's like, but I need to help these people, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to help them and all that stuff. And then I mean, there's gonna be ultimate times where you're gonna have to choose between maybe losing your stuff or
Well, even those thoughts, I live in the city, and I've done some situational role playing where it says, hey, at what point would I cut my losses and even flee my family to the church, right? That we're out in the country. But you said the mindset. As a believer, we have a promise that we're to have the mind of Christ, and the Lord says we have the mind of Christ. And so remember, you could watch 1,000 podcasts and be equipped in every way, but in those moments where the real crap hits the fan, what does the Lord want you to do, right? And only He knows, down to your circumstances. You could say, well, in this circumstance, do this, but only the mind of Christ. Those who are walking with the Lord, the first thing is get the word of the Lord. So for your circumstance, if your husband say, honey, let's take a minute and let's go to the Lord. And Lord, here's our circumstances. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Find the discernment. Doesn't mean you don't stop prepping. Prep away. But in the moment where something happens, then say, Lord, what do you want us to do? Remember, He's the commander. And in that, there will be a solace. There'll be some type of peace that you can move upon where you're not moved and motivated by fear. Because remember, fear is not only a liar, fear is going to have you do every time the wrong thing. And so I love that you brought that back to focus, because a prepared mindset, your mind is not only prepared, but now said, Lord, what do you want me to do? He knows things that you don't, because when you get on the battlefield of life, there's going to be all types of twists and turns, and you had everything planned. All of a sudden, what you have planned is not working. So the Lord knows that. So I cannot stress enough, not just as a pastor, but as a brother in the Lord, let's not have the fear of the world and the mindset of doom and gloom. Even down to this may sound dark, but Paul said, to live is Christ, to die is gain. This is not our home. This is not our final destination. One day our life will expire. Yeah. And there's a great confidence knowing that I'll be with the Lord forever. And that is not necessarily dark. It's great hope, right? And so I'm not saying I want you to live the fullness of life. I want my kids to be safe and provided for, but I also know this is not my home. And so in that, is not only as a combat veteran, both combat veterans, there is this confidence of having a sound mind in these very dark potential scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to react under pressure, think under pressure. I mean, have a plan. Have a plan B, have a plan C, and a D, and then ultimately have a plan E. I mean,
and
honestly.
Plan E is we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, Plan E is we're gonna figure it as we go along.
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
Yeah, things are not looking good.
Yeah, but yeah. So like basically radios for the church.
Yeah. And these are like base stations.
Yeah, these are the base stations. These are the mobile base stations, and basically you just get a power supply that you could actually plug it in.
Okay.
It has a DC outlet that you can plug it in. It's about 13.8 volts because you have to have that to keep a steady power.
Okay.
So I mean, base stations go up to about 50 watts. The higher the watts, the 50 watts, the farther range you're going to have, the better.
So the watts will push to the antenna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll push to the antenna, but then. The other part about it is, as you know, with any cable run, the longer it is, the more degradation.
Okay.
So you're going to lose wattage out of your antenna.
I got you.
So the shorter, the better. And
so in our scenario, I know you guys can't see the panoramic here, but if right there's the bell tower, and let's say our base station, Ed, was right here, our bell tower, which is the exit in a high point on our building, we could probably be within like 20 feet. So would that be ideal? Like, 10, 20, 30 feet? Obviously, like if you had a 2-story house, maybe your base station's upstairs and not downstairs.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a good thing to have. I mean, well, it all depends too. I mean,
Sure, every house is different.
yeah, I mean, if it's a tornado, you don't want your radio upstairs.
No, good point. That's a good point. But try to minimize the degradation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say anything under like maybe a 50-foot run. You're gonna lose like so. If your radio itself is say a 20-watt radio,
Okay.
you're probably gonna lose maybe 8 watts
All right.
and 8.5. So basically, it's gonna be a 10-watt radio.
I got you.
So, but I mean, it also depends too. I mean, the biggest thing, because I've talked to some of these antenna companies out there, and I actually kind of got their opinions and about which antennas are best for our situations. I've actually sent them like a
schematic or something.
Well,
Okay.
I sent them a map of Harvest from Google Maps.
Okay.
I put the straight linear distance like the Huber Heights to Eden.
Okay.
It's a lot shorter to Eden than it is.
Sure. Eden's maybe 10 miles, maybe 10, 12 miles, something
like that.
Okay.
But and they told me which antennas I have that has the best gains and all that stuff. So, and I mean, there's certain things you got to realize too. If you want to spend a lot of money, you can get a non-pre-tuned antenna, but then you're gonna have to buy an antenna tuner and hook it up and start tuning it yourself.
And when you're talking about tuning for direction, or would they be unidirectional?
It all depends. Some are straight line directional. Some are basically omnidirectional. It all depends on what kind of antenna you want.
Yeah, omnidirectional. That's the word.
Yeah, I mean, omnidirectional would be the best just because where we're located, because we
want to kind of go in all directions.
Yeah, we got people like all four directions.
Sure.
So, I mean, that'd be the best. And omnidirectional antenna, I mean, make sure your cable is actually for radios as well. Your base station, your power supply, and your backup power supply. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that for the actual church, I mean, I got all the prices because I sent this to you before.
So, I mean, we're talking about looking at your spreadsheet. We're talking about under $1,000, right?
Yeah.
That we could have. Now, this is no battery backup.
This is no battery backup.
Okay. So according to the spreadsheet, it looks like he's got about $800, right?
Yeah.
And then even if you threw in maybe something that wasn't super high grade for $1,000, which is an investment.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, remember the church is our scenario. You know, if this is your house and you've got a big family, or for your business, right? $1,000, and then say, hey, we're command center. And then you give your family a checklist that says, this is the link to Amazon, this is the radio, spend $200, and your family can now not only talk to each other, but talk to us up to these miles.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that feels really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's better than maybe even a family vacation.
It is. I mean, you may never need it, but sometimes you never know if you will need it.
Mm-hmm.
But Midland has a cool setup that's an ammo box.
It's an ammo box.
It's a built-in radio.
Okay.
Has a power supply.
Okay.
Has a solar panels with it.
Oh, it's built into the ammo box.
And it's a repeater.
Oh, man.
So it'll get farther and people can actually hear better.
Who makes all this stuff?
Oh, there's different companies. Like this is Midland right here. I mean, Micro Mobile GMRS.
Man.
And then, I mean, they also have this, trying to find it, they have one called the ammo can.
So in the ammo can, everything is built in.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put that in the post too. You know, because what my objective is to empower people with the confidence that they, you know, because if you think about it, that's amazing. That's really cool.
And you can actually pull it in and out of the ammo box to change the battery underneath it. And basically it has a external antenna that you can put wherever. I think it has like a 20-foot antenna that you can stick it somewhere. So if I want to, with time being limited, I want to pare this down. So we're talking about command center. Let's just call that command center for whatever type of church, organization, business, etc. You're looking at $1,000 or less. And would we be able to put that list in some sort on the post or in the comments? Yeah,
right?
I got all that.
Okay.
I actually got the schematics that we laid out for the church.
That's amazing. And we have to act on that.
Yeah.
And we as a church, if you're part of Harvest, we are going to act on this as soon as possible, because then we'll give you some suggestions for links. But then I think this is very important. Don't we all need to be, and a family needs to be on the same page for frequencies? Let's talk frequencies for a minute.
So, yeah, I mean, there are certain frequencies that people use. Truckers use one frequency.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of overlanders use like channel 16. I mean, everybody has their certain channels that you like. The higher the channel you go is basically the higher wattage. So if I have a 5-watt handheld, when I hit the 20-watt channels and all that stuff, nobody's going to hear me. Because everybody talking on that was going to overpower me because I have so.
I got you. So they stagger that.
Yeah.
So if you're on low frequency, you're going to go with the low channel.
Yeah.
And that's on GMRS.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, like some of these GMRS channels right here, these are just like the basic channels. See, the 1 through 7, actually 1 through.
I'm just helping with the mic.
1 through 8 is actually shared with walkie-talkies, FMRS.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, actually, one of my Bofangs, I was playing around, and I actually have it paired to our radios. So, actually, when we're out for the first Women's Gun Club, Dirk had a radio out there, and inside her house, I actually have my Bofang. I was talking to him on it.
I got you.
So, I mean, that's where like a plethora of radios come to play, walkie-talkies and all that stuff.
Right.
Because if somebody only has a walkie-talkie, I mean, if you get it down to one of these frequencies, if you actually program it on your GMRS radio, you can actually talk to them so they can actually hear you.
You know what would be really cool, Ed, for our family and for others? I think one of these episodes, even if it's really short, come in and actually program the radio, right? Like, no?
I don't know.
Can they not see it?
Yeah, they can. I mean,
is it easy to use?
Well, most of them are already preset to all these stations.
Oh, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Yeah, just like a regular.
Oh, so I thought you had to do 187.605.
That's if you want to fine tune it, and actually if you want to find a certain frequency, because I mean, like the GMRSs, you could actually put a security code on your if we had a repeater here, that way, say like someone like at Ron's house. Had an actual GMRS radio, the repeater can hit him and somebody could hit his. I mean, extend our distances.
So you said a GMRS has how many channels?
It's technically 1 through 22,
but is there sub channels? Right?
It's not really sub channels. I mean, those are pretty much the. Channel. Yeah.
But if what I'm saying is, outside of going to ham, is there a way? So, like, I've had those 2-way radios where I can do channel 8 sub 32.
Yeah.
Right. Now, obviously, I know behind the scenes, that's just a frequency.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a license plate. It's just a frequency.
Yeah.
So, with GMRS, if there's how many channels? You said 10?
Well, they're 1 through 9.
1 through 9
is shared with walkie-talkies.
Okay.
But there's 22.
22 is what you said. So, what I'm saying, though, is if we wanted to be maybe less cluttered, there's no way to say, let's do this particular frequency and manually fine tune it to this particular frequency to get out of traffic.
I think you can fine tune it, but that's also where you could actually put a security code on your radios. Like if we had a repeater here, we could actually put a security code on it. You could do it with the handheld too. And basically what happened is it stays more in tune with the one channel that you're on.
Okay.
But it also blocks people. Basically, I mean, they can hear you talking, but it blocks them from talking.
Interfering.
Yeah, while you're there.
So you're still a security. OPSEC is still important.
Yeah.
But it blocks them from jumping in.
Yeah, jumping in and putting their 2 cents.
Because that's usually what I do. When I mean, if I'm on a radio and someone's talking, I like to jump in.
You ever played a meow game?
No, but it sounds fun.
Oh, in Iraq before every convoy, we'd always get that one major that was like, so gung-ho.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, you've been sitting behind the desk this whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, I want radio discipline. And then we'd get on there and we'd like, meow, meow. Who did that? Meow.
And having a blast doing
We'd
it.
be doing it the whole convoy.
Okay, good. So that's good to know. So really, you're saying the radios, though, are not hard to use.
No, the radios are not hard to use. I mean,
channel 1, 2, 3, up to 22.
I mean,
Okay.
with everything, there's a YouTube channel. I mean, I'm working on learning how to program them all.
Yeah,
and put
because I
security
think
codes
that
on 'em.
I think that would be good to have your channels locked in,
Mhm.
and at least as a church, an organization, and family saying, go to channel 22.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. And that, I mean,
And but ultimately, you're saying you're still going to probably have to compete with traffic.
yeah, I mean, no matter what you do, you're gonna have to compete with traffic. But I mean, see, a lot of people follow the 3-3-3 rule.
Okay, and what's
3.
that?
It's basically every 3 hours, channel 3 broadcast for 3 minutes.
So maybe like 777 every 7 hours.
Yeah. Every 7 hours, or
Yeah.
I mean, you could do 1-5-3. I mean,
Whatever your code.
basically come up with a standard, an SOP.
Yep, standard operating procedures.
Yep, for the church on the frequency. We set that up, and I mean, like maybe once a month, you have everybody check in, and you get on your radio and you reach out and see who could actually hear you.
That's
and,
good.
And see if they could. You could go as far as to have people like different areas could see if they could actually respond to you.
That's actually good.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's all about training with the equipment that you have.
Yeah, sure.
And getting to know your equipment. And I mean, the biggest thing is, you train that, and then I've already started pulling up a whole map of this area all the way down.
Which is the Dayton area for those watching, Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, but mainly focused around Brookville.
Okay.
But spreading out all the way to Eaton, all the way up to Oxford, all the way down to, I want to probably say about Centerville.
Wow.
And I'm breaking it down into grids. So basically, I mean, if we could reach that far and people could reach back to us and we know them, their family, friends, congregation, or even, people that need help, we can start putting out like different zones where they come from, different zones, so we can know where they're at. And I mean, you just put out different like code words and all that stuff, if I'm headed to the church and all that stuff. I mean, you change the church's name to something else and all that stuff. So we all know where we're going.
I got you, but it stays a little bit more OPSEC.
Yeah.
For limited of time, so I want to review from my perspective. And this is if you're part of our church, this is my promise to you is, number one, we are going to set up what I call a command center for traffic, radio traffic. And I can't say it's going to have the biggest antennas, but our goal, I know we've talked about, is maybe to go 30 miles.
Yeah.
Okay. And you feel like that's feasible?
Oh, yeah.
Even with that budget?
Oh, yeah. It's doable because, I mean, you could always do like, say you're here at Huber Heights. I hear you. You could talk to me. And say we have somebody else that we know is
Inglewood.
down. Yeah.
Okay.
Or like, say they're in Inglewood, they hear you. They could always relay that to me in Huber Heights.
Okay, that's a good point.
I mean, you could just play the relay game.
I got you. So that's great. So number one for those that are in Harvest, but if it fit this to your scenario, that if you're in charge of an organization, or you are the dad of a large family, or you are the boss of a business, that commit to creating some type of operational command center where there's radio traffic that you can obviously communicate with people you love or organize. And so baseline, it looks like you can get that done for about $1,000. We'll put the links in the details. The second thing is, for your own family, for a couple $100, you can have at least 2 radios, GMRS radios. And we're going to put instructions, at least for the church, as an example of frequencies, where to buy it.
Actually, Midland USA, the radios I sent you for the church, they actually have a farm special that a lot of farmers use with like large acreage, 100 acres and all that stuff. And it's a base station plus 2 GMRS.
So it's a package.
Yeah,
how much?
It's a package deal. I think it's like under $200.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Last time I checked,
So the base wouldn't include the large antenna and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at least it is a base with 2 radios.
Yeah, with 2 radios. The small handhelds, you can't change the antennas on those series.
Okay.
But
I got you. They're pre-programmed.
Yeah,
you're right. It's something.
Yeah, it's something.
And I want to suggest highly that this is an unprecedented time. As of October 2nd, 2024, the day we're shooting this video, we've got Israel on a multi-front war footing. We've got, obviously, Iran attacking Israel. We've got Israel in Lebanon. We've got Russia in Ukraine. We got Ukraine in Russia. We've got the UN talking about nuclear weapons or nuclear war. We've talked about Russia obviously reworking their nuclear doctrine. We are closer to a potential nuclear Armageddon than ever before in history. And as much as that may scare anybody, obviously my hope is in the Lord Jesus Christ, where your hope should be. But that still does not mean that we should not have some type of preparedness.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, at least where we have time for today, a great kind of recap. I know this, Ed, we're going to take this, we'll cut down this video, and we're going to put this in a post, and you already sent me all kinds of awesome links. Do you have any final thoughts on this segment?
Well, on this segment, I mean, just in prepping in general, a lot of people look at us like, oh, they're crazy conspiracy theories, but...
Oh, I've been one for like 20 years.
But I mean, honestly, look where my tinfoil hat's gotten me. I mean, look at that. A lot of it's coming true.
Yeah,
in the last couple of years. But I look at it this way, too. I mean...
You feel vindicated.
Yeah. But, I mean, I look at it this way, too. I mean, you may think it's crazy, but it never hurts to put things away for rainy days, just like a savings account.
That's good. That's good.
And when you think about it, say, you know, biblically... So, I mean, Revelations. I know we got a lot of people who say they're pre-trib.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, if you're pre-trib, you're going to be taken up in the rapture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you at least like to leave something behind for family members who are not saved or friends of family?
Amen. That is so true.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, so at least, you know, they're taken care of when you're gone.
That's amazing. And not to mention, if you think about it, we've gone over 2,000 years since the Lord had walked this earth, and there has been some incredibly difficult times. Obviously, this technology has not existed. Well, it potentially could have, but I don't want to digress. But the point is we're not exempt from very hard times, even if you are pre-tribulation, which I am. But there's still incredible hard times. And so both of these are great examples of let's get ready not only for your family, but maybe what you could leave behind.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even after post-trib, you're going to need the supplies.
Yeah, if you're post-trib, you better really get ready.
Yeah, you should have been starting prepping about 10 years ago and been ready.
Well, let me do this. I want to pray over everybody that's still watching. First, I don't even think we have one channel on the new YouTube channel, so if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe to Prepare Mindset. Ed, I thank you for your leadership at our church as you kind of take this channel and run with it. But I also want to make sure that you put your hope in the Lord Jesus Christ. Today, the Word of God says that today is the day of salvation. If you've been hoping for another political candidate or for some other organization to put your hope and trust in, they will fail you. Only the Lord Jesus Christ will never fail you. And so I want to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, that we are not without hope, but we have hope. And so, Father, as you lead us and guide us, Lord, as churches, as ministers of the gospels, as brothers and sisters and sons and daughters of God, Lord, let us be prepared, Lord, but in our preparation, let us know that our hope is not in man or the kings of this world, but our hope is in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. And we love you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Ed, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you.
All right, man. Look forward to connecting with you on one of the future episodes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, see you, buddy.
All right, see ya.